Hey, everybody out there in social
Hey,
media
Austin.
land and YouTube land. Thank you so much for coming with us, meeting us here on YouTube today for our handpan class and interview with special guest Linda
Hey.
Arnold. It's going to be a super awesome.
We
Linda is the
have.
person. I
Oh,
can't
there
wait
we
to
go.
get her online. All right, so first of all, if you haven't clicked on the subscribe button over here yet, below the screen, as you're looking at it, it's like a red subscribe button. Click it if you haven't subscribed already. It'd be great to have you as a subscriber. If you want to set up the notifications so you know when we go live and when we post new videos, you can do that and make it so you can see it coming in whenever we post something new. Also, just FYI, I'm David Beery. I'm the owner of Dave's Island Instruments, DII. I've been making steel drums and handpans for almost 30 years now. So I've got a lot of experience working with steel and making music out of metal. And I've been enjoying it the entire time. And I love continuing to do it. And it's really an art form that I just absolutely adore. So one of the cool things about this art form is that you can meet absolutely really amazing people. And that's who we're going to meet today. By the way, before we bring Linda on, I just want to let you know throughout this whole video, if you want to make a comment, we have people watching the comments live, and they can let us know what these comments are. So if you have a question, please feel free to enter those questions in the comments, and we can hopefully answer some of your questions live today as the video moves along. So, all right, with that being said, I would like to bring on Linda Arnold.
Yay.
There she is. Hi, Linda.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, so I just want to let everybody know. So the way Linda and I got to know each other from the very start was, I believe she called me or emailed me or something like that, and she said, "Hey, I want to do an interview with you for an article for the magazine or something like that called Ask Audio." Is that correct, Linda?
That's right. Yeah, I had met Stephen Morris at Sacred Roots, and he was talking to me about how he was apprenticing with you and learning how to make hand pans. And we'll get into how I first heard about the hand pan, but I was like, what? There's somebody near me that makes hand pans. Let's go. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was writing for Ask Audio at the time, and doing a lot of writing about sound healing and aspects of sound healing. And so, I really felt the handpan and instrument making would be a really compelling article. And plus, I wanted to get to know you and see this,
Right.
in real time. So that's how that came together. Yeah.
Yeah, that was totally awesome. And I was like, wow, cool. Somebody's writing an article. So that was really fun for me too. Um, so just FYI for the people that are watching right now, a lot of you might have be brand new to handpan or considering playing handpan. And over the years here at DII, we've put on different like handpan classes and events and that sort of thing. And before COVID hit, we had handpan classes every 2 weeks here at the store, and that was lots of fun. Recently, we've been putting them online on the Saturdays, kind of like today. So rather than giving like an instructional handpan class today, I really want to reflect today with Linda, because she was our first handpan teacher here at DII, and she started it all. And it was really fun seeing what she created. And I kind of want to just talk with her about how people like that are watching right now that are just either new to handpan or just bought a handpan, want to know how to play it a little bit more and get familiar with it. I want to kind of bring everybody into the discussion together as like how she developed her ideas with the class and musical ideas and how to play a little bit here and there. So that's kind of like the format of today. And also we want to get a little bit into Linda, what she's doing these days with her own musical adventures. She's very familiar and been part of the sound healing community for a long, long time. And if you want to go look and see what she's done in the past for sound healing and that sort of thing, you can go to her website. I believe it's listed on the screen there, right? Divasonic.com.
Yes.
Yep. All right. So there you go. That's Linda's history. You can just go there and find out more. But first thing first, I think we have a video of the class that you taught, Linda. So we're going to bring that video on screen here.
Here we go, guys.
Memories. I love
Memories.
it.
Oh my gosh. And play.
So there's Linda in the white shirt. on the right-hand side.
It might lag.
And this group, I think it fluctuated from about 5 to 10 people. Nice.
Yay!
Yeah. Woo.
That was like, it's my
Brings
hit,
back memories.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. One hit
That's my
wonder.
I mean, what fun. I think I took about 4 or 5 groups through that program.
Yeah,
And God, it was so, I felt so lucky to be able to do that. Because I was also learning the instrument
yeah,
myself. I've been a pianist and piano teacher for over 20 years, so I have, that sense of the two hand playing and the rhythm and the melodic percussion end
yeah,
of things. But haven't really considered myself a straight up percussionist. So I really approached it like an improvisation class
right.
and tried to weave in, as you saw over time, some basic music theory, rhythm, and is a little bit of interval and harmony and scale talk and musicianship talk into that. So, that composition that was introduced in that concept of 3/4 time, 3 beats in a measure, kind of like a
Yeah,
waltz feel.
yeah,
And
right.
then also the concept of like an A section, one pattern versus a B section, and then going back and forth.
Yep,
So these are like all simple concepts that help people feel like they're actually playing a song, because sometimes just free improvisation is intimidating for people, right? They're like, am
yeah,
I doing it good? Am I doing it right? So that
right.
it was a kind of riding that line between structure and improvisation, even just during that beginning course. So that was such a great video.
Absolutely. No, I think it's really great that you took on that class because, like you just said, you were still learning at the same time you were teaching, And you know, a lot of people get kind of scared, especially people that have never played musical instruments before. And I believe there were several people in that class that had never really played anything before. Do you
Right.
recall? Yeah.
Yes.
And so a lot of they kind of are really worried that they're going to make a mistake or that sort of thing. And so I think you did a really brilliant job of just keeping them in the class and not letting them get too scared. And they were very successful and super happy. Every time they would show up for class, they were just all grins, you know?
Oh, it was so cool, and I met the
Yeah.
coolest people through there. I mean, this instrument, this handpan, is created such a cult like feel in the community.
Yeah.
It's like a new instrument relatively to most instruments we know about, and so it's like, what is it? People came in because they're hyped, and ready to listen and learn, and that's what you want from your students. You want them to
Yeah.
show up excited and ready to dig in. So, yeah, I
Right.
mean,
So for all of the newbies that are out there maybe watching right now that are interested in learning more or maybe just got one, bring them into the conversation a little bit. Like, how did you help people get the sound? Like a lot of people get concerned about how do I make that sound? How do I touch the instrument and get that initial sound to make it sound good?
Really
Right? What
quick,
did you
guys.
have any like technique? Oh,
We have
got a
a we have a
question?
we just have a couple comments. Just saying hi
Okay.
to James Paul. I'll read it because it's a long one. Thank you for streaming
Okay.
this. I started playing handpan roughly 2 years ago and have been following your channel for a while now, and I would love to own one of your handpans. Beautiful
Nice.
instruments. Thanks again for the information
Thanks,
video.
James.
Memphis, Tennessee. We also have Maria saying hi from Dana Point. So
Yay. Awesome. Hey,
yay!
Marie. Yeah, I think you came in recently. So
Hi,
thanks for
Marie.
joining us.
Yeah, as far
Awesome.
as
Thanks, Daniel.
getting yeah, so as
Oh,
far
go
as
ahead.
getting the sound, I actually, I referred to what um I think you told me. There's a couple
Okay.
things that always stick with me, and that is you're pulling the sound out, like it was either you or Steven that said that when you hit you. I have a rap drum right here, but you can show me what when you hit a note, you're bouncing off, so there's like a fish hand kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
that was
Right.
the big thing. So keeping your wrist loose, your hand loose, so that you still have the gravity of your arm. Let me move my,
Right.
here we go. Still have the gravity of your arm, but you're keeping your hands kind of like this, fish hands, and then
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
pulling the sound out, because the main thing
Right.
that happens to people is that they stay on the surface too long, and then they get that kind of muted sound, not that nice ringing sound that makes it like
Right.
bloom, the sound bloom.
Yeah.
And so people don't understand how subtle that touch is, but once they get it, really, that's like, huge percent of getting the basic technique is, you know spending time with each note, getting that bounce correct, so you get that ring that you want, that nice, full, that nice
Yeah.
attack, and then the blossoming of the note after.
Right. So how long did it take that class to learn that song that we just watched just now?
How many weeks was it? Was it like a 6 week class or so?
It might have been 6 weeks.
Um,
That sounds about right. But it might have
yeah, I
been
think
maybe over 2 or 3 months or something. I don't know.
honestly, that was something we started in the middle of the class, that particular song, because I was doing something in 4/4. We're doing 4/4 time first, and
Yeah.
then we would transition into 3/4. And so by that time, people were ready for some sort of song, and it took a couple classes, I would say, just
Yeah.
to get but people were really ready to dive into that, and it was easy to follow. It wasn't too complicated, um,
Right.
and it brought together
I always
everything we
I
learned.
Yeah, I was always hoping you could take the show on the road because I mean, how many times you've actually seen five or more handpan players playing at the same time, like kind of like a performance like that? It's usually just one individual playing with a
Yep.
band or that sort of thing, which is fine and all. I'm not arguing against it, but it's so unique that we had that opportunity. The other thing too is I think we had handpans here at DII that they could use as part of the class, like rental handpans and that sort of thing.
Right.
So it just made it work out. It was really a fun thing, and I'm hoping we can do it again in the future.
Yeah, I mean that was the key part of your class was that you had these, rental pans. These are like the hand pans that you wouldn't sell. Like they were good enough to play, but they weren't like tip top, but they were great for
Yeah,
like the classes and they were all in the same key. So
yeah,
the thing about handpan is they're all in these exotic keys, and so you in scales you've never heard of that have different names. It's like this whole culture around it. So, but you had a group like 6 to 8 that were all in the sunset scale, which is kind of like a D
D minor.
Dorian,
Yeah,
D
right.
minor scale, right? And so we could all play together, and it's the coolest thing because there's nothing more confusing to a beginner than to have a bunch of different scales playing, and so no one can hear anything.
Absolutely.
Understand
They're
that
like, what?
note is over here and that note's over here, and but having
Yeah,
like a consensus around the scale everybody's playing makes this kind of class possible. So that
right.
was just a gift, and like it simplified the whole experience for everybody. And then yeah, we could have a moment like that where we could all play something together and we could take turns
Right.
soloing over the top. And I mean, it was so fun. It was so fun.
Yeah. So also just another question on the class, and just maybe it's something else for the people that are watching that have a handpan already and are like searching for new ideas. You said you developed that song in basically an A-B kind of method, like you have the beginning and the middle, and it goes back to the beginning, it goes to the middle, whatever, right? So
Yes.
for a beginner, how would you? Because also the other thing about handpan is the amount of notes are limited. And so some people, I think they go, okay, now what do I do? How do I make this interesting again? So do
Hmm.
you have any suggestions on like development of a songs, or like do you play fast or do you try to play slow, or like what's the ideas that go through your head when you're developing a song?
Well, I used that song that we did in the class to help people conceptualize how they would do their own patterns.
Hmm.
And so, when we get into developing a song, it's really impossible to not talk about measures and rhythm and music theory and that sort of thing. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
basically, for the most part, I would say, you're developing a loop, an
Okay.
idea that repeats.
Yeah.
So, you can just start with a couple notes doing something like just even if you just take two notes, boom, 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 and that's your
Right.
loop. Boom, 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 and you can do that like 4 times. Okay,
Yeah.
that's section. All right,
Right.
and then your B section has to be something else. Like, what do you want to do
Right.
next? Dee, 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 dee. Dee, 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 dee. Then you go back to A. Boom, boom,
Right.
boom, boom, boom. Right? It's as easy as that. So you have to give
Yeah.
yourself structure, right? And find an idea that is sounds good if you repeat it
Right.
over and over. But you still have to
I
be
love
in a
that.
groove.
I love that idea. I've never used the word loop before, but I think that's a very modern word to use for making music. I'm going to create a loop, and I think people understand that rather than saying repeat this section. People would be like, "What do
Right.
you mean
Well, I
repeat the
mean,
section?" Yeah,
that's a good point. That's because you come from like a
yeah,
traditional background.
yeah.
Yeah, in classical music school, I never heard loop. Okay.
Right, exactly. No
That's
one
true.
uses that
That's
word.
true.
Yeah, it's cool.
But in audio production, that's all you do. That's all
Exactly,
you do.
exactly.
Loop de
So yeah, it's
loop.
perfect. Yeah, and I love it because that makes total sense. Because then you can say, okay, loop it, and it's super easy to say it in a class environment. I think, okay, loop that part, loop that part. Everyone gets it really fast. So I love that. Thank you. That was really good.
Yeah, and
Um.
again, you're staying in a tempo, right? If you stay in a
Oh yeah,
groove,
yeah,
the
yeah.
faster you have to choose it. If it's too fast and you can't execute your idea with the
Yeah.
speed that you chose, then you have to slow it down. So if you don't have anybody with you guiding you in this process, this is something you have to self manage in your process of writing.
Yeah. That's another funny thing about pretty much every beginner always wants to go fast. For some reason, everyone always wants to play lots of notes and go fast, but it's not essential to play well. So it just like you said, kind of take it
Correct.
slow. Yeah. So that's
And
also a
here's
really
the
good
fun thing about
recommendation.
class. So when we were playing together, the number one thing that would happen is that if we're playing together, everybody would speed up. I don't know who was
Right.
doing it. It might have even been me. But you know what? Everybody
Absolutely.
gets excited. everybody gets so excited because
Yeah.
they're playing, and it's like the heightened energy of
Right.
I'm playing and I'm excited, and it just things get faster, and they're like, no, 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 no. And so we would have to we do that exercise where I'm like, okay, we're gonna sing at 40 beats per minute, and not really do it, so
Yeah.
slow.
You know what I always tell the class? I always tell them this. I always tell them just breathe. Because seriously, a lot of beginners they forget to breathe as they're learning the song, or they forget to breathe as they're playing like a pattern or something like that. And I think the breathing also helps people just like relax and slow down. It's really fun. I like breathing.
Dave,
Do you
I
like
have
breathing?
well, yeah. I mean, with the sound healing work for one thing, but I have to tell you, when I was 9 years old and going to my piano lessons, I had this teacher. He was an old man. I was like scared of him half the time. It was really intense, but like there was time when I would like go in to play my song, and I would like hold my breath and I'd play, and then I'd let my breath out when I'm done. And as the pieces got longer, that was kind of impossible. So he would just tell me, he's like, you have to breathe when you're playing. Like, I was like, oh, because I was
Yeah.
so freaked out.
All right, we got a
People,
question.
the anxiety around playing is like, part of it, right? Getting
Right.
past that
Yeah,
fear
absolutely.
We have a quick
of that
question.
threshold. Sure.
Question. All right, this is actually from James Paul. I'm going to show his add to broadcast. I don't know if you
Oh,
can see
there it is.
that. And then there's another one. There's a
Okay, that was too fast. I couldn't
There
read
we
it.
go.
Yeah. Okay. I'm reading it off. I am very interested in how music can be used to facilitate healing experiences. In your experience, what makes a loop more conductive for healing or facilitating a peaceful state?
Okay.
Okay, so like sound healing. Like how do you create
Right.
a loop that's more effective for sound healing, that kind of thing?
I think that's what
I
he's
mean, that
asking.
is such a broad question, but we can, dip into this concept of trance state.
Mm-hmm.
So when something is like repetitive, like I just actually posted a video I did last night where I did this arpeggio and on my mood, and I let it play. I filtered it a little bit, but it's the same thing. So if you're actually listening and sinking into the sound, when something is repetitive, like a melodic pattern or a certain sound that just keeps going for a while, even like the ocean or nature can do this. It's like its own complex randomized loop, right? Nature. It puts you in this like
Yeah,
trance
right.
state because there's no change, right? There's no change, so your mind's going to be like, oh, I'm getting bored. Is it going to go somewhere? But see, that's the money right there, right? Is how can you, as long as the sound is annoying to you, that's like another thing. It depends on what kind of sound, the texture, timbre, tone, scale, mood. But if it's something that's just very open and it's repetitive, and then you can like, even just one note on the piano, all right, and you can just start to see what your mind does in that state. Is it looking for more? Is it bored? Is it agitated? Are you letting go of those thoughts and feelings and just enjoying the moment of this repetition, of a sound? But that's such a broad question because we can get into like beats and things that are meant to sync the hemispheres of the brain and all kinds of cool scientific stuff, around tones and frequencies and so-called loops.
It
Yeah.
sounds
No,
like he
I
needs to
love
take your
the
class.
yeah. Yeah, you need. Oh, that's right. Yeah, why don't we talk about that real quick? You've got a class that you've created, right? An online class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Tell us more about that.
I totally, yeah. I launched my online school this year because everybody's doing online stuff. We can't have a real in-person class right now. So my first
Yeah.
offering is called Devotional Voice, and it's 4 modules of sound healing and vocal development. So I go through breath practices and then vocal toning, free singing over drones, and then mantra, also. Like, what's mantra? Sanskrit mantra, medicine songs. I mean, talk about a loop. A mantra is Sanskrit mantra. You just repeat it. You can do 108 practice, and you repeat this over and over and over. It starts to entrain your brain and focus your mind in to your breath and your own sound. So I think, before that, you dive into this, when you dive into the practice of sound healing, I think starting with the voice is really important. You don't have to buy anything, you have it, right? And it's
Right.
your own it's your own vibration. And so I decided to start my course offerings with this voice course. And when I took my sound healing training with Sylvia Nakach, her main thing is voice. So that was the thread through the whole entire certificate course, year-long course that I took. And as we study with other teachers, we kept coming back to the voice. So we learned about tuning forks and then come back to the voice. We learned about drumming and come back to the voice. And the
Yeah.
voice as the central channel of sound healing development. So that's why I decided to do that first. And my next one will be native flute. I think I'm gearing up for the
Oh yeah.
native flute
Yeah.
course.
Native flute
Yeah.
sounds great. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my current offering, and there's a chance to just do the video course by itself with one consultation call, or to study with me privately as you go through the course. So
Yeah.
James says thank
Speaking
you.
of voice, yeah, you're welcome. Speaking of voice, sometimes I talk to people about that too when we talk about developing songs and melodies or loops, as we're calling them now. Uh, and I always bring it
see, I'm,
back
I'm
to the
changing your whole
voice.
game.
Yeah,
Your whole.
but I always bring it back to the voice, and I've noticed this with people that play steel drums also, and percussionists in general, people that play percussion. So the difference between percussion and voice is you have to breathe with voice. You have to take a breath. You can't continuously sing, right? So there's always a moment where you have
Yes.
to take a breath, and so there's an automatic pause in the music, and then it comes back, right? Whereas sometimes with
Interesting.
handpan and other percussion instruments, people get carried away with just endlessly playing, and then it becomes monotonous and not really super interesting. So along
Yes.
with just breathing, I think it's also just like a good idea for people that are like developing their own ideas to allow a passage to come and go and then take a pause and then another passage, because it's all about, like you said, going back to the voice. It's like, what's the most
Mhm.
natural thing for humans to do? It's to sing, because that's our personal instrument, right?
Yes. Yes.
So anyway,
Yes.
thank you for bringing that up. I think it's a
Yeah,
fascinating
yeah,
subject.
yeah. And, we're not taught to love our voice if it doesn't sound good or it's in
Right,
tune, or
right.
we're not American Idol level. And that's, these types of courses, the devotional voice course, and those that are more geared towards sound healing are meant for people that have these blocks. How many times have I heard my throat chakras blocked? I would be
Hmm.
rich. But that is a symptom of our culture, and the how we're not taught to use, our when we grow up. There's something happens in the musical education end of things where we're discouraged, from
Right. Yeah,
actually
somewhere
using the
along the
voice.
line. Yeah.
And I didn't sing throughout my classical music training. I studied piano and flute, and then when I started writing songs, I was like, I had to really go through some vocal development of my own, and I had to
Yeah.
go through a lot of criticism, even from my own
Right.
family, around the fact if I sounded good or not. Like on my first record, which I was so proud of, it was like, well, maybe you shouldn't sing, and it was like, wow, it's so
Yeah.
ingrained, and
Yeah.
but devotional singing is really about using the voice as a healing frequency, as it's a different approach, and but I tell you what, through my training in this way, my voice got even better, more expansive. I felt more connected to it, and to what my
Yeah.
own sound is. And then going back to the silence thing, oh my gosh, I mean, that is so important. Like, you got to put some rests in there. And
Right.
because the
Yeah.
first day of music school, they asked the question, like, what is, and I'm like, oh my god, what? Like, it's, music is everything.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's, we learn it's organized sound and silence. So silence is part of that. It's just not in the
Right.
beginning before you start playing, and then the end when you end. There
Yeah.
is very intentional pauses in your playing are so incredible. So like for people that love handpan on this because you have your handpan community here tuning in, listen to some master handpan players like what's his name, Adrian
Oh yeah, Adrian.
Portia,
Yep.
and
Yep.
people that like they'll like listen. Maybe there's mostly playing going on, but then there'll be parts where like there's something that happens and then a pause, there's nothing, and
Yeah.
then something that happens. And we talk about those pauses in sound healing, those pauses, that silence, as where all the integration happens. So we're taking in the sound information, and then there's a pause, and there's a space, and there's so much happens in there. It's so loaded. It's even more loaded than the actual sound making.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
the more
No,
that we
I
can tune
totally
into
agree.
that.
Whenever you hear like the great performers perform music, frequently, there's a pause at some point, and you're just on the edge of your seat, like waiting for them to play the next note or whatever it
Mhm.
is. And they have a
Yeah.
magical way of using that pause in a way that builds anticipation and excitement. And then when it's given to you, you're like, oh my gosh, that was just the most gorgeous thing I've ever heard. So yeah, the
Yes.
pauses are just absolutely amazing. Something about them.
Mhm. Yes. Yes.
Daniel, did I hear your voice? No. Okay.
No, no, you didn't.
Now we're having a pause,
Awesome.
which is beautiful.
Awesome. Okay, so Linda, so real quick, so we talked about getting started on handpan. We talked about how you were teaching classes and developing ideas for music. I know that you have your group Sonic Devas, right? And I know that
Yes.
you've incorporated handpan with that group to some degree. And I just kind of
Mhm.
wanted to get your idea on how you incorporate handpan into the professional medium, and
Right.
like how your creative ideas move along from that point of view.
Sure. Yeah, I think first, I just talk about how that Sonic Davis. Oh my gosh, that was like our first show. Saint John's Cathedral in LA 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was like the best night of my life. Honestly, like I worked
Right.
3 months to put that together. I was really on the edge of myself, and I got these incredible women who all leaders, like, and they specialize in different instruments, and then bringing them together and creating the ensemble. So handpan has definitely been a part of that. In my own sound healings, I use the handpan, or as right now I have a rav drum, which is a hybrid tongue
Yeah.
handpan instrument that I'll show you guys a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'll use it at the end of the meditation. I feel like it's, people will use it in different parts, but I use so many instruments in what I do. Like I have a gong, I have a couple crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, flute, and chimes, and I just go from one thing to the other and create a journey. And so
Yeah.
the handpan to me is a very reflective, comforting landing.
Hmm.
It has melody, has rhythm, and so it's a wonderful way to just bring people back into awareness and to end the meditation. Sometimes I'll even guide people out of the meditation when I'm playing it. So
Yeah.
from that standpoint with Sonic Devas, it's a little more complicated because it's hard to mic them.
Okay.
They're a little bit quieter, and in the context of like a sound healing orchestra like Sonic Davis is, when we already have 20 mics up there,
Right.
um, it's hard to make that like rise over everything else. So that's the first
Yeah.
issue. So then what I wound up doing the few times we had the handpan was making it a duet moment.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
for example, like when Shireen came and played, I played flute with her, and it was like towards the end before the last mantra, and it was like just wonderful duet. And I did the same thing with my friend Karen Brule. She played the handpan and I played flute, and both times it wasn't loud enough to my taste because
Interesting.
it's just so
Interesting.
it's so
Wow.
tough. I have a great
Yeah.
engineer I work with, but the thing is like there's feedback issues, and you're in the church and
Right.
there's reverberation and stuff. So um there's just a lot for him to do, and so like sometimes the
Yeah.
details, it would just take a little bit more to kind of get and I think
No, absolutely.
Shireen had brought her condenser mic And
Right.
sometimes in that context it's actually not a good idea because they're way more
Right.
sensitive and they cause problems with the other mics around it. So it's better just to go with a dynamic mic. You can crank that
Right.
up and do some rough EQ on it just to get the the rumble out of the sound.
Yeah.
So artistic. The other thing about the handpan in the context of an ensemble is like it's key specific. So you can there's only so many things that can play with the handpan,
Right.
like,
Okay. Yeah.
and then there's the tuning. So 432 versus 440, and in Sonic Davis, we have a mixed tuning ensemble going on because some people have
Okay.
hard tuned 432 things like crystal bowls,
Yeah.
and then people bring their handpan and it's hard tuned. We can't retune it. So those are
Wow.
some of
You
the
just
considerations.
I had several questions for you, and you put them all into one statement. I was like, wait, what? So one of the frequent
That's right. I
questions
was
people
prepared.
have. Yeah, one of the frequent questions people have about handpans also is like, how do you mic them? How do you use microphones with handpans? And you just basically explained that, especially in a live situation. You suggested like a condenser mic, which picks up pretty much everything around you, but it's very sensitive. It can cause a lot of feedback, right? So you were just suggesting a dynamic mic,
In a lot. Right.
which is more like a
Right.
vocal mic,
Exactly.
right? Yeah,
Well, I mean, dynamic mics like 57s and 58s, they're great for anything. Like
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
in a and I'm more talking about live performance right
Right,
now. I'm not
exactly.
talking
Yeah,
about studio. When you're in a studio and you have the control room and you got like the acoustic treatment and you're the only thing in the room, get the best mic you can get. Get that
yeah,
$5,000
exactly.
Neumann,
Yeah,
M1, which I wish I could buy right now, and then
yeah,
you can get so much detail.
yeah.
But in a live setting, especially with so many mics and different instruments on stage that are all so subtle, like, yeah, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it's
Right,
it's
right.
like
And
it's
then
it's my
and
it's my passion. So
yeah, totally. And then it's interesting you brought the 440 versus 432 subject, and just right before we started this video, I thought, oh yeah, I wanted to ask you a question, so I put it on my little notation board over here. And so then you started talking about that too. So a lot of handpan people, they see all the videos, and sometimes they see the 432 hertz stuff on different videos, and then they have questions like, Dave, what's the difference between this and that? So what's your observation with 432 and how you've either experienced it or how you've used it to your benefit or not?
sure. I mean, that's been like a whole other journey. I roll my eyes a little bit because I wrote for Ask Audio about it, and I got creamed, by all like the scientific theorists. Like they're just
Okay.
they're like, that's not true. It's not doesn't it's not for healing. It's not. It's just another tuning, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've had a great time exploring it, and there's a sect of people out there that swear by it. There's people that have
Right.
been healed by listening to 432 hertz music versus 440 and can really feel and hear a difference.
Yeah.
I do believe in those things. I found out and about it and started exploring 432 tuning with Torquem G and our Solar Theory project because he tunes his synthesis down to 432. So then, I started to tune everything down to 432 for that project, and that was a 2-year album writing project, and that really informed
Yeah.
everything I was doing around that. But I really had a great time. I mean, it's still equal tempered, right? Equal tempered meaning like
Right.
all the C's sound
Yeah.
the same, right? It's not Pythagorean or just intonation or any of those weird tunings. Still has to
Yeah.
make musical sense. It's just everything's tuned down 32 cents,
Right.
31.7 or whatnot.
Okay.
Um so 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 basically, you have these I have my Shrutis now, which in my drone box, and I have a couple crystal bowls, and those are hard tuned. So then if I play those things, everything else I'm doing has to be tuned down unless because it's
Yeah.
not easy to retune those things. So then and then all the sound healers around me, like some of the girls and devas, or they bought 430. They have a whole set of 432 hertz crystal bowls, and I asked my harpist to tune down to 432, and it wasn't her
Oh,
harp
wow.
didn't like it at first. She had to
Right.
she was tuning right up until showtime. And
Yeah,
so some
exactly.
instruments
That's a lot of strings to
don't
tune.
like it. And so I
Right.
think I think in terms of sonic devas, to me as like a musical director and composer, like it's just become a little bit annoying because we have
Yeah, a little
to
burdensome
we
kind of
we
little,
we, we
yeah.
have to, like we use the piano at St. John's, and that's 440. We're not going to ask them to tune it down for us,
Yeah. Yeah,
for
that's
one
basically that's
show.
yeah, I have basically 2 experiences with 432. The one experience is, yeah, you can't really play it with anything else because everything else is tuned to a different frequency, and it just doesn't quite sound right. Even like playing to the radio, like if the radio's playing in the background, you're like, something's wrong, just
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
frequencies aren't matching. But the second experience I had, which is kind of like on the scientific level that you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
because I'm surrounded by tuning instruments constantly. That's every day I'm tuning something, right? So I'm very keen on 440 essentially. And so
Yep.
I kind of rolled my eyes at the 432 thing initially too. But what I found is when I tuned a 432 instrument, there is something about it that when I play it, I just, it's not like I'm feeling anything maybe spiritual going on, but my body just kind of goes, oh, this is different, right?
Yes.
Because it's not the same. And and so I think there is to some degree some kind of scientific something that you could maybe make an argument with, that it does affect you in a day, even if it's
Yep.
just your body's noticing that something's different, right? And so I do kind of like, I dare say I relax a little bit more with the 432 just because
Mhm.
it feels a little different. So I don't know.
Yes.
There might be
I
people have
yeah.
arguments up and down on that.
I love your explanation, because let's have it be just as simple as that. Let's not try
Yeah,
to, create all these layers and bring in science that's not there, and not research that hasn't been done yet, but really deal with how does it make you feel different? Do you notice a
right.
difference in your body? Like, let's just start there, because a lot of people do. And then
Yeah,
because we're used to hearing everything at 440, so something's tuned
right.
up, then our whole nervous system is tuned at that frequency. We listen to music in that tuning, and
Yeah,
we're used to it. But when we change that ever so subtly,
yeah.
um, examining the difference in how we feel, that's a really fascinating thing. And
Yeah, it's just a simple thing like that. Yeah. It's weird, really weird.
right. And we did with Torquem, we did a comparison one. So I did an article for Ask Audio. The same article, it was like their most viewed article, and that's not
Wow.
all a good thing, because it was so controversial. It was basically
Yeah,
like it was attack dogs out
right.
everywhere. And
Of course, yeah.
we did a comparison just with like a synthesizer composition that he did, where we recorded it at 444 and at 440 and then at 432, and then we put those examples up there, and so people could hear the difference. Now it was
Yeah.
composed at 432, so I think if we, composing at the frequency you desire also affects that frequency. So just tuning something up and down isn't really going to give you the full picture either. But anyways,
Wow.
it's been a really
Yeah.
fun exploration, and but with sonic devas with an orchestra, it's like
Yeah, it's
that's
really,
unheard
it's
of. I
hard.
mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that.
Right?
That was a great discussion. I mean, we could have had a like
Yeah.
a session all about just 432, like for a whole hour.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but
but that
I'm
was really
good.
good.
I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. We're good. So thank you for that. That was fun. Well, so
Yeah.
I know that you have like a little instrument in front of you.
I
I think
do.
you brought it so you could give us a little sample. Tell us more about what you have in front of you here.
Sure. So I'm gonna change my angle here. I have a
Okay.
Rav drum. Uh,
Your audio went.
Yeah, we need to get your audio back.
okay. You
There you
hear me?
go. Yep, you're
Yeah.
rocking.
Yeah. All right. So now you see the craziness that I have going on here. This is the
Love it.
behind the scenes. Okay, so I have a Rav Vast drum right now. This is like they call it the B Celtic scale. It has like a double low note, so it's interesting. It's B, but the middle note's A. Oh, let me. You guys hear that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then there's a B down here.
Dave, you can kind of have an echo, so.
So I've been having a lot of fun exploring with the Ravas. So it's the size. It's more the size of a handpan, but then it has the tongue aspect, the tongue, rather than the dimple of the
Right.
handpan. So there's a couple ways that I like to play this. I have mallets, these two rubber mallets, and so that's fun. So the raps are cool because they have a really long sustain and a beautiful sound. And then so that's with the mallets, but you can also play it with your hands too, with your fingers.
Yep.
So that way you get more of the attack.
Yeah. Nice.
And
Yeah.
then I have this going through Ableton. So with a lot of my instruments that I play, I can like put some effects on it, a reverb and a delay, and then you can like kind of get trippy.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, that's super dreamy.
And that's why I feel like it's a great thing, to end the sound healing with, because it's kind of I don't know. There's something about the sound that like brings people home. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a pillow. It's like a warm blanket.
Right. Yeah, it's uplifting somehow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could do the same thing with those effects. Like if you had a handpan, and by the way, the Rav drum came second, like handpan first, right? And then people were
Correct.
learning how to make handpans in different ways, and that Rav drum is kind of like a second level, kind of just a different kind of a handpan. But you can play it with your fingers in the exact same way, and it has a similar sound but different. But you could put those same kind of effects on a handpan, right, and make the handpan sound really dreamy like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can put
Yeah.
effects on anything. Oh, sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of the fun too, is like you can change a sound with effects and just make it more your own.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, just the history of what even 5 or 6 years ago, there still weren't a lot of makers.
Right.
And people that were making, that's why like finding you was such a miracle, because at that time there still weren't a lot of people crafting.
Right.
And it was just like the pan art. They invented the drum, the hong,
Hang.
and then there
Yep.
was
Hung. Yep.
the hang, and then there was like the halo up in Minnesota. Those guys, and you had to like
Yep.
submit to a lottery to get one,
Right.
and there was like thousands of people submitting for one handpan. I'm like, this is impossible. And it was around
Yeah.
that time, when I met Steven and met you, and I was like, ha, yes,
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
But the past like 5 years, like you've really seen this explosion of makers and people really innovating, like and you
Oh
included,
yeah.
Dave, like doing some cool stuff, like different like you were combining the handpan with tongues and
Yeah.
the talk pan or whatever you were doing, like you
Right.
were
Right.
just
Right.
like
Right. Yeah.
trying new things. And so the result of that is like all these cool hybrid versions and people trying different metals and different treatments and scales. And now it's like mean, they still haven't, I don't think, come down in price that much because they're made one at a time. That's what's so cool about this.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have a factory making hand pans, but that's good, I think, because the innovation of independent makers is what is creating such great instruments.
Yeah. So really quick, I'm going to kind of start to wrap it up here a little bit, but I know you've got some current projects. Can you tell us what you've been
Sure.
doing during this COVID time? Because nobody can go out and perform these days. So what
Oh
kind of
my gosh.
projects have you been
So,
working with recently that are kind of exciting and
um,
new?
cool. I was going to go back to my. Okay. Okay. I think you hear me now. Okay. There we go.
Yep. You're on.
Yay. Okay. So, this year, it's been tough. I mean, I love performing and I love
Yeah.
being in front of people. But I've been doing a number of live streams. I've been doing, I did the video course and launched this online school that I'm developing. So that's been amazing. And I've really set up my studio to do more live streaming and recording, learning how to record into OBS and stream with OBS and
Yeah.
restream and like all
Right.
these technical things I would have never done if this
Yep.
didn't happen. And so I'm so grateful. Like my YouTube page has some awesome content on it now, like because that's all
Nice.
I can do is to create
Yeah.
videos and using OBS to bring in video layers. And like I did my own EP release in April with video footage from my friend Ian Montgomery, and I like played back the videos and then I switched to myself. Like I did the whole thing it was like my own show online. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's just pushing myself to, because there's no way I can't stop performing. But I need to find a way to do it. So this is
Yeah.
the way to do it. And through that, I did some really great projects this year. I did a video for Earth Dance Global, their Prayer for Peace, and I worked with my friend Michael Strauss on visuals, and that was awesome experience. And just launching the school and teaching Zoom classes and things like that, and doing the best I can. I have been doing some private sessions, out and about, private groups and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just impossible not to, if
Yeah.
it's
Right.
safe and I'm doing like one session at Sacred Roots still once a month that can only have 10 people in there. I mean, it's still
Yeah.
like it's definitely a challenge, but it's creating, as you are too, shows like this, and you're creating dynamic content that you can share with people anywhere in the world. So I'm
Yeah.
not just
Right.
teaching people locally, but getting into the concept of reaching people globally, and that's really exciting.
It is, absolutely. So, well, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a
Yay.
really, really super fun conversation to have with you.
Yes,
I haven't seen you.
perfect.
I haven't seen you for like a little while. It's been a minute since I've seen you, so it's really good to see you.
I
Another thing we
know.
didn't really
Me
talk.
too.
We didn't really talk about it, but you are a marketing genius because I see your
Oh,
stuff and it's really well done, and all of your images and your advertisements. I'm always like, man, how does she have the time to do all this stuff? So you are
I work
amazing with
all
all
the
that marketing.
time. I work
Yeah.
all the time, and
Yeah.
because I love it. And
Yeah.
I have wonderful people I work with that are graphic designers too, that I have learned things from. And like I have a music video coming out next month for this drum and bass song I did, which is more of a pop thing. Like it's not sound healing per se. So I've just been
Yeah.
having some fun. Like it's my
Cool.
20th anniversary year of Diva Sonic, and so even though it's the COVID year, I'm doing the best I can to like elevate myself artistically and really work to take advantage of the time rather than being consumed by it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, you really are a goddess, and I really appreciate you being here. Thanks
Aw,
again.
thank
I'm
you,
gonna
Dave. You're
follow up
so
after.
awesome.
Oh, thank you. After you get off screen, I'm gonna follow up with a couple little things here and there. But once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dave. It's been really fun. Yeah,
All
you're
right,
my
bye now.
neighbor. We have to see each other.
Absolutely.
All right,
All right,
bye.
thank you.
Are we done?
All right, so everybody, So I just wanted to mention we've got Cyber Monday coming up. We're not doing anything for Black Friday, but on Cyber Monday we've got a cool little live Cyber Monday video. It's going to be scheduled soon, so keep your eye out for that. Me and Daniel are going to be talking about the products we have here at DII, handpan products. We're going to do comparisons, like what's the difference between a pro rental and a standard rental. Or we're going to talk about ukuleles. We also have ukuleles here at the store. We're going to talk about like what's the difference between a soprano and a concert ukulele. So yeah, join us on Cyber Monday. We're going to have a live feed just like we did today on YouTube. So look for that. And then also, if you ever want to have a virtual appointment with any of us here at DII to explore the instruments we have to offer a little bit more, we offer virtual appointments. You go to our website, and you click on the appointments page or whatever it is, contact us page, and you can see a variety of different appointments that you can click on. You schedule the appointment, and we can do one-on-one videos like this with you. We can do phone calls, whatever it is you need. We're here for you, and it'd be great to hear from you. That's it. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm going to play a little bit of music for you on the way out. But once again, thanks to Linda Arnold for all of the wealth of information she shared with us today. It was literally like an encyclopedia of information. So I was really happy to have her. So thanks again, Linda. And with that, I'm going to play a little bit of music and
Stay on,
see you
Linda.
later. All right. Thank you.